Uh, we're just SMR kind of deal sometimes. You can change it. You can get out. And right now, it's because if I get out, let me see if I can change it. I can't, and I'm not getting out right now. Are suspended. Why am I? Oh, it's because I wasn't playing. It's just 13 minutes. Fuck. Anyway, who cares? It's okay. I can go like you were gathering. Let me change it for you so you guys won't be like, oh my god. Is that good? There you go. Yeah, so people will be complaining. There you go. But I am playing. I'm meant to spend it in 13 minutes, but we'll play in a bit. You can't be doing that. Don't do what I do. Hero down. I didn't even see this part. Yes? Teddy?
Okay.
I don't know what she said. But okay. I got color. Oh, I got a logo. Cool. Night sky.
What about veggie, bacon, and curds? Oh, thanks. Oh, thank you, PJ.
Ooh, I got a new box. I wasn't playing the game. Wow, they give you like 13, 14 minute suspensions. It's okay, I got a new box from yesterday. Ooh, I got a new armor. Cool. I don't even use that guy, but I'll whip him. I don't. I really don't use him. Ooh, I got a new spray. Cool. There you go. Old soldiers. There you go.
Okay, I guess the camera isn't going to catch my naked body.
Well, I can just view it this way. Yeah. You join match.
Now entering.
Now I can play. My bad, but like they may complain. I mean, I could have gone live on. I mean, you guys know I'm on YouTube, right? Like, I can do Twitch, but I just chat it here so you guys go to YouTube. Because we get paid more. Mostly because of that. I'm like, YouTube, that's it. What?
True self is without form.
Dude, they're hitting me from the. What the fuck? It's like they're waiting for me to get sniped, dude. Oh, these people are really good. I can't even go out. I gotta attack like this. Yeah, bitch, you can't really do anything here. They think I'm stupid, but I mean, I'm really. I can't go in there, they're gonna attack me. Are they like all like complying against me? Cause like that's bullshit. You see, the other players are not really helping me. They do like that's the thing. You saw that? I couldn't even get out. Oh, this game was happening and they just put me in because they were missing players. I'm good, dude. Whoever likes me likes me. If they don't wanna, I don't wanna become famous. That shit is stupid. If you guys woken up, like, I just wanna have friends. Even when you become famous, there's no way you can be friends with all those people. It's fucked up. Well, that's my 2 cents. I'm still suspended. Fuck. Okay. I got 5 minutes to go, but I think I can play quick play. But if I do that on competitive play, they suspend you for about 15 minutes. That's the first time I do that, so I'm kind of like, whoa, don't do that. Okay. Okay, go. I think we're gonna have to switch pairs. Yeah, that was annoying. It's gonna be this guy.
No dying, man.
No dying. La marihuana.
Get in here!
Fuck, dude. Gonna have to snipe him? Probably. Let's try this one. It's cause, like, nobody's attacking, so I can't really do shit.
Never stop fighting for
Come
what
on,
you
guys. Let me snipe her from the back. I usually... Snipe her. Going. Fuck yeah, good job. Good job, guys. Go. Straight. Don't let him go. Good job, everybody. Good job. Now keep it. Don't let him come in.
You're covered.
Fuck.
Meteor
I'm
strike!
not ready to hang it up. I will make real. Ready to start something this fight. My ultimate is ready to be unlocked. Surrender to my will.
Fuck.
You're not getting rid of me that.
Yeah, I'm ready for that. Now we're gonna do this one.
You're powered up. Get in there. Nothing won't stop me. If I crash, you'll be fine. I'm under attack.
Come on, capture it. We got this. Don't let us.
Get here. Allow me to repair the damage.
Come on, we got this. Don't let those bitches get us. They're coming.
It's going to be okay.
Fuck! No, they're gonna win, dude. We're like catching up. Fuck this.
Double kill. This is much better than a cabana on the beach.
I'm on fire!
Dude, 67, 68. Come on, guys. We can make it.
And him with a minute.
Fuck yes. Good job, guys. This guy is showing up. Good job. We're gonna win. You got this. You think they were gonna win? No, we're gonna win. Fuck yeah. They thought we were gonna lose, dude.
Score 1-0.
Fuck yes.
Look after yourselves out there. I'll get us home safe.
they want. I don't have him clock. They got me.
I wasn't cut out for retirement anyways. Allow me to repair the damage.
Dude, the backbone with tranquility is almost dead. Fuck. Guys need help. Let me switch to the age of the case. Guys, keep going, keep going, keep going.
You should be at peak performance. Engaged. So much.
Their magnets are catching up.
Back in the fight. Allow me to repair the damage.
Round 2. Loss.
Where does it hurt?
Oh, we lost.
Score 1-1.
Describing your work as unethical would be a kindness. Damage increase. You have good gains. Damage was
Round 3. Capture the objective.
Hello there. Where does it hurt? Welcome improvement. Much obliged. Touch from afar.
The objective is now.
Damage amplified. I'm out of my will made real. Right beside you. A speedy recovery.
Get him, get him, get him, get him. Fuck.
EMP activated.
Confidence is a flimsy shield.
The point is lost, and you can't have it. I'm on fire!
Fuck up. Motherfucker, dude. Go, 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 go.
The outcast
Ah.
defeat.
Play of the game.
Nerf this!
Oh, hi. Good morning.
Wait, no. Cancel. Cool. God dang it. Did it kick? Yeah, fuck yeah, okay. Okay, I'm out. Okay. I need some soda. I don't feel like completely awake, so I'm gonna take a bonk hit. So don't mind me. Yeah, I'm gonna leave it like that. There you go. What the fuck? Anyway, he does weird shit and then he'll bring it back. He always does that. I don't know why he does that. Maybe you'll throw it over here. Okay. I mean, it's fine, but like, well, this is my bong now, apparently, for whatever. Yeah, I use a Pokeball to hit my bong. And then like that got me this one. It's a little pill that you put. Cool. And then the fuck? It has no gas? Let me check. Yeah, I need more gas. Be right back. Fuck, dude. I have to fill this one outside because it's like I can explode. Let's put a podcast because I'm not like not. I don't know. I think this is my body's being weird lately.
Guest Spooky Podcast contains explicit language and content that may not be suitable for some listeners. Listener discretion is advised.
I'm starting with the first episode. I started this podcast this movie. But yesterday I started with the last movie, so I do that.
Welcome to the Guest Spooky Podcast. My name is Kevin, and I'm on this. And we're two guys scaring each other with stories of paranormal encounters and true crimes around the world. So this is our pilot episode.
And they didn't clean it.
We don't know what we're doing. Wow, I feel like Joss Whedon.
I'll be watching.
They got the right TV shows, Buffy, Firefly, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. first couple seasons. Sorry, I've never seen those two. I never seen Buffy, but I think when it came out, I didn't speak English. And Firefly, I know it only was on for like 3 seasons. One actually. Well, never mind. And a movie. So, how are we gonna do this? Who's gonna start? I don't know. I mean, you can start first if.
No, you just
I
literally
have
say
like unknown topics. I don't know if you know what my
Should we
topic
read
is. I don't know what your topic is.
Let's just go over it.
You feel like, you want to start off strong? Or... I feel like my story is probably the weaker of the two, so I'm gonna go ahead and start. Well, there wasn't a lot of information. I wanted to do kind of something that like people don't really talk about, and so I pretty much just wrote my notes and decided that I wanted to talk about Thunderclaps, Chile, which is a town in the Atacama Desert where a lot of kind of bad things happen. So, sorry, what was the town? A town, Thunderclaps, Chile. Okay, so basically this town was established 1872 by this guy named James Humberstone, and it was when a lot of Europeans were coming to South America because there was a lot of sodium nitrate, also known as sulfur, which is a fertilizer. They used it a lot in Europe to fertilize crops. It became a huge export in Chile. There was like a bunch of these oficinas, basically like their little, the mine and the town around it would be called an oficina. And there was different oficinas everywhere. A ton. Yeah, pretty much. So the town of Humberstone had like 3,600 people at its peak.
All that shit.
And you said they were in the desert, right? Yeah,
It's gonna help me, dude. I'm like dying.
So I think it's northern Chile.
What the fuck?
And so this area of the Atacama Desert is actually considered the driest and the hottest part of the
dang it.
desert. There's very minimal rainfall. The temperatures are pretty extreme. It gets up to like 100 degrees during the daytime, but drops to freezing at night. So it's just, the weather's kind of extreme. The town Humberstone is still pretty intact, but it's starting to fall apart. In 2005, it was actually named a UNESCO World Heritage Site because of the impact the town had on the language and creativity of the Pampino people. Did you know about the Pampino people?
Pampino people.
The Pampino people were pretty
No.
much people from Bolivia, Belize, Argentina, Chile that all came together to work at these mines, and so they intermingled and had kids and stuff, and so it became like this own like subgroup of Bambino people that live in Chile. So pretty much, so it started in 1872. The boom went through all the way through the 1930s.
Oh
And
shit!
in the 1930s, physicists in Europe actually made a synthetic fertilizer, and so at that point, you said what year was this? 1930s. So in the 1930s, the synthetic option was made, and it greatly impacted the export of salt pepper from Chile, which eventually made it to where in the 1960s, Humberstone actually had everybody evacuate the town. So it was considered a ghost town in the 1960s.
Because of the synthetic.
Right, right. And that was pretty much at all the oficinas in Chile. There's, I think, only a handful of them that are still in operation. They pretty much emptied out. But right now, like I told you, it's in a UNESCO World Heritage Site. But recently, it's starting to fall apart because Humberstone is so close to the ocean that when waves splash up, there's kind of like the salt in the water becomes atomized into a fog. And so the fog will roll in and just cover everything with like salt. So the salt's getting into like the wood and metal and corroding the metal, and everything's starting to fall apart. You can't really go inside any of some of the buildings now because they're pretty much a danger to be in. And so a lot of tourists visit here. So let's get into the good stuff. Let me sorry, please clap. Wow. What happens is these Pampino people suffered a lot in these oficinas. What happened a lot was that, so you had, for example, this guy, James Humberstone. James Humberstone owned the town, the oficina. He owned the stores. He owned basically everything. And so all the people in these different towns, these different oficinas had different currencies. So you can only use your currency in the oficina you lived in, but that's the only currency that you got paid in. You couldn't switch it into legal tender to the country.
What the fuck?
Yes.
That's sus, because it's basically like you're paying them, and you're like, you can only use this money with me.
Yeah. And what ended up happening a lot is they would go months without paying these people. Months. And if you pretty much pissed off James, the guy that owned the town, he wouldn't stock the retail stores for clothing. He wouldn't stock the grocery stores. He just pretty much was like, fuck you guys. Like, you pissed me off, fuck you. So, no food for you. And I remind you that the houses that these people lived in were also owned by him. He owned literally everything. So, yes.
Basically allowing these people to move in, and he's like, by the way, I own everything. I mean, I'm assuming most people that moved to a town like this really didn't have many options to begin with.
Right, right. These were people that were immigrants from other places. Like I told you, they came together and became the Pampino people. And there was also, you know, just so many immigrants from a lot of different countries coming into these oficinas and working them. And a lot of them were dying. The conditions were terrible. There was a lot of safety conditions. Like a lot of the kids would get run over by the trains that they had taking the sodium nitrate back and forth. They had like little trolleys kind of that would cut through the town. The kids would get run over all the time. People would lose limbs from the trains from not jumping out of the gates. There was no safety equipment, so people would fall into these boiling hot water baths that they used to clean the sodium nitrate all the time. People would slip and lose limbs in actually working in the mine and not losing their limb on the train.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry, I don't really think about asking, but I'm sure like working conditions are not the most ideal. And if he owns everything, like, who's gonna complain?
Right, right.
You're gonna complain? Fine, I'll do it for you.
Exactly. These people were treated like slaves. They would have people on horses that would go around and whipping people. Like, could you imagine you show up to work and you're there for a paycheck, and if you're not working fast enough, they would beat your ass?
Yeah.
Like, what the hell?
They get mad
Like,
at
I'm out
you.
here like, but again, like you said, these people really didn't have any other option. And you couldn't leave. You basically had fucking Monopoly money. Like the guy would pay you in Monopoly money, and you could only use it to play the game there, and that was it. Like if you left, you couldn't use your money for anything else.
Yeah, that's a good comparison. It's
Yeah.
basically Monopoly money.
So
But that's basically it. It's like it's not even a real economy. This guy just made them dependent on him.
yeah, exactly. He made them dependent so they could treat them as horribly as they wanted to with no repercussions. Like, you couldn't spend your money anywhere else, so you had to endure being beaten. You had to endure the heat. You had to endure the cold. You had to endure the safety conditions that were non-existent. Like, they pretty much just treated you how they wanted to, and you couldn't really do anything about it. And this was actually happening in all the oficinas in Chile, to where it brought up a time that's referred to now as the social question, the time of social question. So there was a lot of social unrest, a lot of Pampino people were complaining and striking and stuff. And so there was a lot of strikes that led up to this one specific strike. So pretty much what happened is there's this town called Iquique that's probably like 30 miles away from Humberstone. It's not very far. It's maybe like a 20-25 minute drive. And so they showed up. All of them did. In 1907 is when they got together. They rallied together along with a lot of people from other oficinas. So there was a bunch of them, and all these people were the wives, the miners, and their kids. And the wives, miners, and kids from other oficinas. So they all got together, rallied in the town of Iquique, and they all showed up to this school called Santa Maria. So when the strikers arrived, the town mayor, which was Rafael Sotomayor Gaete, was kind of like, you know what? I don't really like these people, so we got to get rid of them. So he told his general, Roberto Silva Renard, he's like, do whatever you have to do. Warn them tomorrow morning and get them out of here. I want them the fuck out of my town, right? So Renaldo pulls up in the morning and he's like, hey guys, you have 1 hour to vacate the area or you're all gonna die. What? So obviously, like, these people were like, they're not gonna shoot us. Surely. So, an hour later, they opened fire with artillery. Artillery fire, killing about 3,600 people. So basically, the population of Humberstone was killed. Yes. Keep in mind that it wasn't everybody from Humberstone. Like, not everybody went. It was just, the population was up from all the other oficinas and their kids and stuff that rallied there. Got together, and it was 3,600 people, and they all died. They kept this shit quiet for years.
That is so.
They buried all these people in a mass grave and refused to talk about it until very recent. In 2005, all this didn't really come out, and like the government was like, we did this until 2005. Yep. They had a commemorative day. And, you know, they were like, oh, in remembrance. And obviously it wasn't these people that killed all these people were dead by then. But they were like, this is really embarrassing, and we didn't really want to talk about it, but we have to talk about it because we have to remember these people that were killed. And so it's just really sad. It's just these people went and looked for a better life and went to go strike. None of them made it. They all got killed. Women, children, and their
I can't even imagine thinking like people back home. It's like you always hear of like, oh, the opportunity arises in a different country. It's like, oh my god, it's like a once in a lifetime thing. And it's like these people actually did it, and now their family doesn't hear from them. I mean, it's kind of a good step in the right direction to kind of admit it to what happened. But like you said, like
a lot sooner.
Yeah, like what's it? It doesn't help anything to confess that they fucked up 100 years. Like, I'm sure, yes, a few generations afterwards may have still felt their repercussions, but it's like, why didn't you do it when it mattered?
Yeah, exactly. So, like I said, this happened in 1907. The facts of the massacre kind of like dispersed, and everybody in the oficinas heard about what happened, and it scared the people so much that basically quelled all the strikes until the 1920s. So pretty much for over a decade, people were scared to say anything or do anything. But thankfully in the 1920s, that's when the bare minimum was, I guess they were trying to make their lives better for the miners. So in the 1920s, they actually set a maximum hour of work per days, and they signed it into law that they had to pay them in legal tender. They couldn't do the whole monopoly and anything.
Finally, like, here's some money. Here's a livable wage as a treat.
No, they didn't pay them more.
Not
They
even
just gave a little money.
Like, instead of paying you $5 Monopoly dollars, you get a real $5 thing.
Yeah. And so, when I started my research, like, I couldn't really find anything about this town. I don't know why I was drawn to talk about this town. I don't know if I remember seeing it on Destination Truth when we used to binge watch that show a lot. I don't remember, like, why I wanted to talk about this specific town. So I kind of started digging a little more into, like, what was going on, because a lot of the Pampinos are being interviewed now. They're in their 50s and 60s now. They're still alive. And so these people that moved out of the town before it became an actual ghost town, or that lived in the town before it became an actual ghost town, tell a lot of, like, really shitty stories, like, really terrible things that would happen to them. Like, I think I mentioned to you, like, we weren't trying to talk about what our stories were, but I think I mentioned to you about how they use children in the mines.
Oh yeah, they use children so fucked up.
Right. So listen to this shit. So they would, they try to blow up. I don't really know how mining works, but I guess it's like where they try to set TNT or the whatever it is and blow up, and then I guess like get into a further cavern and then dig further. You know what I'm talking about? You set a charge and then it explodes and makes a hole, and then you set another charge and it makes a bigger hole, and you set another charge and it gets further in. So sometimes there would be crevices that were very small that people couldn't fit in. So what they would do is they would pull these kids out of school, because remember, they're owned by the same guy. Everything's owned by the same guy in that town. He'd be like, hey, go get that kid, bring him over here to the mine. They would bring that kid over to the mine, set him with some charges, and put him in the crevice, and just make him fall all the way to the back, and set the charges, the explosives. So what they would usually try to do is pull the kid out fast enough before it exploded. Because back then in the day, they didn't have those weird fucking plunger things that you see on cartoons to set the fucking TNT off, or the remote controls we had. It was the 1900s. They didn't have that shit back then. It wasn't like Wile E. Coyote trying to kill the Roadrunner or anything. They didn't have that. So they actually had the kids set the charges, and then they would try to pull them out really fast, or crawl back or whatever. A lot of the times the kids didn't make it back. They would actually blow up with the charges that they were setting.
This is a very depressing.
Yes. Very depressing. And then a little girl that she wasn't a little girl at the point that I watched the interview for, but this interview was on YouTube, and she was talking about how they would be in class and all of a sudden the bell would toll, and they would look around in class and see who was missing, because at that point they knew that there was an accident in the mine and one of the kids had just died.
What the fuck?
Right.
Enough to have like their own little system. That's like the type of shit that you see from like, I don't know why, that just reminded me of like the Hunger Games.
Yeah,
like,
pretty
they,
much.
Like blow the cannon to like, yeah, and they're like, this child died. It's like, jeez, dude. And that's kind of what I mean. Like, even though I'm sure the government admitted to whatever happened, like, all these kids are probably not still alive, but like their grandkids are still alive. Like, those grandkids, I'm sure, know the story
of how their great uncle and great aunt died.
Yeah.
It's really sad. Let's see what else. The adults. Okay, so that's how they treated the kids. The adults got treated worse.
Okay.
If there was any sign of slow working, rebelling, if you fought with your manager or your boss or whoever was on the horse whipping your ass, they would do a few things to you.
They hit you.
They regularly practiced human sacrifice.
They kill people? What the fuck?
To promote more work in the other workers. They'd say, hey, we're going to kill this guy so you guys don't talk back. So they would practice human sacrifice regularly. They would also chain you to a post in the middle of the desert and not give you water, and you were out there chained to that post for days. And remember I said that the temperatures got to 100 during the day and freezing at night.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
No.
Or another one that I saw that they were talking about a lot is that they would get this little metal box that they would put you in, and there was no light, no airflow, nothing. They'd stick you in this box and lock you in for days as well. And I mean, like, it's metal and it's out in the desert, so I would imagine that it would get really hot if you were in there. You were probably baking in that box like a cake.
Jeez, that's fucking terrible.
Yeah. And this was not even 100. Well, now it's 100 years ago. But can you imagine people being treated like that?
Hold up, babe.
After the 1900s.
Did you hear that, Snuggie?
Well, I mean, never mind. There was a Holocaust, so, and that happened after the 1900s. It's just fucking terrible. Okay, I already told you about the boiling baths of hot water that they used to clean that with. I kind of got out of sync and started talking about things too early.
I used to be really bad
Life
alcoholic.
expectancy
Now I
of
enjoy
an
the
adult
beer.
in Humberstone or in any oficina, the maximum age was 45. You were not expected to live past 45 because of the conditions,
I'm gonna take a
the
bong hit,
nutrition,
so-
the weather, the treatment. That was the average age everybody died. And now keep in mind, these shitty hospitals out there, when you would lose a limb, didn't really have any medicine. So you'd die in the hospitals.
Oh, yeah,
you get your limbs chopped off, you'd end up in the hospital, you'd die in the hospital. All these kids that would get run over, these sick kids.
That's horrible.
So a lot of these people would get sick, get a cold, get the flu, or have malnutrition, and they would just die in the hospital. A lot of people died in the hospital in Humberstone. And a lot of the other oficinas.
Can I please get a happy ending in this?
No, there's no
As a
happy
treat.
Unfortunately, it just gets worse. Well, I mean,
Okay, unless people dying.
I'm working my way to the good part.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, that's a
So,
Mario.
Now that I gave you a lot of the history of like these
I
towns
find
and
it-
these
I
oficinas,
find it very
specifically
intriguing.
Humberstone has been named one of the most haunted sites in the world. All this shit that happened, all these people that died, all this like just negative emotional energy, this whipping, this sacrifice and everything, has made it a very popular ghost hunting spot, pretty much. A lot of the residents from Iquique, which I told you were like 30 minutes away, do not step foot in Humberstone at all. It's just, in a lot of the interviews, I heard that like, so it's like kind of a tourist trap. People go during the day, they have tours, and you walk around and talk about stuff. But supposedly, a lot of those people say that like, as soon as it's nighttime, the vibe just completely changes.
Yeah.
It's like the air is heavy, and it just feels like anything could happen. Like you're walking around and fucking Bigfoot's gonna come around the corner. Like just the vibe is just so heavy and dark. So a lot of things that happen here is shadow people. Shadow people will be seen in buildings. Shadow people will be seen walking around like between the buildings and stuff. And a lot of that's reported that some of them have been caught on camera, pictures and stuff like that.
Would you like to describe what a shadow person is to someone that may not know what it is?
Okay, so pretty much a shadow person is a silhouette or a shadow
Yeah, it's just a black
that
thing.
looks like a person, and it walks around of its own accord. Like you could just be walking in your kitchen and there's a fucking shadow person just standing there, like just looking
I
at you,
haven't
cooking
seen-
some
I feel
ramen,
weird- I
getting
feel
ready to
like
eat, scaring the shit out of you. You better run the fuck
pulling
out of your
me.
house.
I don't see them. I don't want to see them.
So and these shadow people are reported a lot. I don't think it's very much demonic, but it's like places with a very negative energy, with a very bad history. They're reported. People that have sleep paralysis. People with sleep paralysis see shadow people a lot.
Yeah.
The Hat Man. Love me a good Hat Man.
That's its own story.
Maybe we'll talk about that later.
Later. I don't have an issue with ghost hunting, but I feel like there's like a very thin line where it seems a little disrespectful, especially in places like these where it's like you know how many people died. It's like trying to convince people to be like, oh my god, let's go ghost hunting in fucking Auschwitz.
Bitch,
You
shut the
don't
fuck
do
up.
that.
Yeah.
That's just, I don't know, like, it just seems very disrespectful.
Wait
It's
a
like,
minute.
if you know the
Turn
history,
over here,
especially,
102.
it's like, I
No,
understand
wait.
the whole tourist part of
Another
it.
minute.
Like, that's
But
fine.
you get that
The
bitch
locals
up.
need an economy too,
Here,
like,
you get this, right?
it's helping them, but to kind of like sneak in and do like a little ghost tour, like EVP or stuff, Like, that's very, I don't know. It rubs me the wrong way.
Right.
I hate
But
that
I think
phrase,
it's
but-
just human nature for us to want to know what's out there after we die. Where do we go? What happens? And I think that's why a lot of these people go out and ghost hunt. Go out and like bust into these abandoned buildings that probably aren't very safe to be running around in the middle of the night. And I feel like that's just human nature. So I do understand where you're coming from, that it may seem disrespectful, but at the same time, I'd probably want to go ghost hunting there.
Oh, wow.
No disrespect to all the people that died.
Yeah.
That's fine.
I mean, like, I couldn't disrespect them more than their government, like, not actually saying that they killed them until 100 years later. Like, I don't think I could do any worse than that.
Chile. The country, not the food.
Chile, pendejo.
Sorry. This is for the English speakers. Chile.
Chile, South America.
Chile.
So I did watch a few videos where people were being interviewed, and so they were telling a bunch of stories about what happened. So this guy, specifically Orlando Vargas, was being interviewed, and he said that so this freaked me out. This totally like made the hair on the back of my neck stand up. He said he was I think he was a security guard is what he was. And so he has to walk around the site at night, and he ended up going into one of the buildings. I believe it was a hospital. And in the hospital, he was walking down the hallway, and he felt like there was a point where like he felt like he was walking through water. Like his body was so heavy, and like time was slowing down, and he could feel his arms swinging slowly, and it was getting so hard for him to move, and he just felt a presence behind him. And he said, he's like, I don't know, I did not want to turn around. He's like, I felt like if I turned around, I wasn't going to live to see the next day. He's like, it was like a powerful, primal, evil, dark thing behind me. And he's like, I was afraid to turn around and see what it was. I didn't want to know, and I just kept walking, praying while I was walking, and walked out of that building and never looked back. And I actually think he quit after that.
I would have quit too.
Shit, I would too, huh?
I mean, it's something like that. Like, yeah, probably, like, if you can feel just pure evil, I'm like, you know what? Maybe I don't mind working at
A Chili. Welcome to Chili's.
My bad.
a Chili's in Chile.
How great. So that was pretty spooky. A lot of tourists at the UNESCO site will take pictures. You know, like when you go visit a place with your family, you're like, vamos a tomarnos fotos. So you're like, let me take this picture with my family. Like, looking all cute, doing your poses, Charlie's Angel pose or whatever. What'll happen a lot of the time is that there'll be faces in the windows of the building behind them. Faces, people standing, and you know, like when you take a picture like that and you look at it, you're obviously seeing there's other tourists walking around. It was probably somebody standing in the building, and a lot of the times it won't be anybody that was in that building. It's a
When I
ghost
was in Laredo, but
Oh, God.
poking through and saying hello,
It's weird.
hi.
Prawn posing in the back.
Pretty much. So, and I did see a lot of examples of these pictures. I mean, obviously this is a podcast, we can't show the pictures, but some of the pictures were really creepy. Like, there was a picture where this lady is from Europe, I believe, and she posted a picture on her Instagram, and she was in front of the school. And in the back behind her, you can see like a person standing like in the building. But the thing about it was that creeped me out was the eyes didn't look right on this person. It was like they were glowing, kind of. Like those stories you hear about El Diablo with the red eyes and stuff in the dark.
God.
That's what I thought about when I saw this picture, and I was like, fuck no, I would have ran my ass out of there through the desert. Hell no.
Well, even if we can't share the pictures, I mean, I'm sure listeners can Google it. What would they Google? Can you?
Just pictures of Humberstone, haunted pictures. See, what I did was went on YouTube and I watched a bunch of interview videos. Specifically, the show's called Rasgos, and Rasgos did a whole 2-hour-long episode
On YouTube?
and it's on YouTube.
Okay.
The show.
Can you spell that? Is it in Spanish?
It is in Spanish.
Okay, so for Spanish speakers, it's called
Just looking at me.
Rasgos.
For English speakers, I'm sorry, but believe us.
Okay, so this is actually Ricardo Cortez. He was actually a former security guard. I think Orlando Vargas is a museum, like one of the tourist people. that not the tourist people, the people that show the tourists around, the host that's like
A tour
This
guide?
better.
tour guide, that's the word.
Okay.
He's like, this building is the hospital, look at this hospital. But anyway, so Orlando Vargas was a tour guide.
Like that, right?
Ricardo
People
Cortez
will be like, what
was
the
a security
fuck?
guard, and he on his interview he talked about hearing a lot of voices. You can at night specifically, you can constantly hear voices like talking, like male and female voices screaming, wailing,
Yeah, right.
like, you know, obviously like a lot of bad things happened to these people, so they probably died screaming.
Come hang out
So
with us, yo.
it's like like you hear it a lot. Like a lot of EVPs will catch all this screaming and wailing and the talking, and it's just very, very dissonant whispering, very creepy. So a lot of some of the things that also happened is they report seeing this lady in white in the hospital. This lady walking around in a white dress. So this museum expert that actually lives in Iquique now, he doesn't do tours at Humberstone anymore. It's another tour guide. He refuses to work there. But he talks about how he was walking around, he was investigating the hallways and the rooms in the hospital. Out of his peripheral vision to his right, he saw a lady standing there in white, and he refused to look at her.
Oh my god.
He was like, I'm not crazy,
Like
I
standing in the
know what that
corner?
is, I'm gonna keep walking, and I'm gonna pretend like it's not there. And he just kept walking.
Like she was like standing in the corner?
Yep. Right next to him.
Oh, walking next to him.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that's even worse. Like imagine just like walking down the hall and suddenly like you feel something next to you, like, and then you fucking see it. I would poop my pants.
Yeah. No, it's not a great time. A couple of other, another one of the buildings that has a lot of reported paranormal activity is a theater as well. And in the theater, there's a lot of orbs that you can see with the naked eye. Like, it's not you taking a picture of orbs. You can actually see the orbs when you walk in, like white floating orbs. People are reported to sit
I should
down.
put it
in
here
the
more
seats,
so I can't see
in
the chat.
I know the theater seats or behind the stage, the curtains will
Wanna
move.
become
You'll hear
famous.
walking around,
Nigga,
you'll
like,
hear
half of these
talking,
people don't even have
and
a-
I don't know, like, I don't really believe mediums or whatever, like when people are like, I feel a spirit here, it's a little girl that died with her Barbie in her hand. But in this interview, they actually had a medium, and the medium was like, in this town, there's a very powerful entity that pretty much controls the rest of the ghost here. So when this entity feels like, he pretty much turns the switch on, and that's when all the paranormal activity happens. But basically, the paranormal activity in the town is centered in the theater. Like, it's where the most, I guess, like, the most
Okay, I'll put it right here.
evil is. And he's like, I feel it here. This is where it starts. This is where it branches out.
Oh my god.
But if anybody's ever in Chile and they're in the Atacama Desert, go ahead and visit Humberstone. And that's it. That's the story of Humberstone, Chile.
Good job. That was a fun story.
Yeah. And I thought my notes sucked, and I actually talked a lot. So what are you going to talk about today?
My topic, I feel like yours wasn't bad. Now I feel like mine probably should have been first, because
I'm gonna pee.
it's not that. Well, okay, so basically my story is Mothman.
Oh, hell nah. Bree, this is for you.
Shut up, Bree.
Yeah, I told you about that time that I was at, we were just like working, you know, I'm over here typing my little invoices, working in my accounting department or whatever. And I don't know why, I think I was listening to a YouTube video talking about Mothman, and then my coworker Bree was like, that's real? I thought that was just a movie. And I was like, Henny, sit down. I'm about to tell you something.
Don't tell her.
And I had her freaked out by the end of that 20-minute talk. Just a little bit. I told her a little bit about what happened, and Whitney was helping, and we were talking about it because Whitney loves that paranormal shit too.
You should have told her, sorry, you have to wait for the pilot episode.
I'm gonna tell them about it so she can actually hear from big start to end.
Okay, well, I don't know. Okay, let's just begin, whatever. Okay, so my topic is Mothman. So a few of my sources, I wanted to cite my sources. Sorry, I know you didn't, and I don't want you to feel like you have to, but, you know, I feel like in case people want to eventually kind of do their own thing, or kind of, and I think my notes are very general, so if they want, like, little tiny details, I'm sure they they can. Okay, so my sources are a YouTube channel by the channel Monstrum by Dr. Emily Zarka, which was very informative. That's where I got most of my first half of my notes. You know what? You'll know what I'm talking about in a second. Hold on. There was another Vice article by Josh Terry at Vice.com, 2 Singular 14 articles by Tobias Wayland at Singular14.com, and a Chicago Tribune article by Ted Slowick and Wikipedia. Okay, so set the scene. It's Point Pleasant, West Virginia, USA. I really want to sing that West Virginia song, but it might be copyrighted. And I don't want to get sued on the pilot episode.
We don't have any money. Please don't get us sued.
Please don't sue us. I have $3. Okay, so basically, Mothman, it's been described as a winged humanoid creature with glowing red eyes. That's a good general description.
That's the devil.
Well, I'm sure it corroborates a few sightings from the devil. But basically, that's a very... And you'll notice, like, you will hear that there's people that have described it differently. So November 12, 1966, a group of 5 grave diggers described a creature gliding through the trees. Like, I guess they were digging graves. That's weird that was a job. I'm sorry.
That still is a job. Who do you think digs up the dirt when you go bury your loved ones in a cemetery?
I mean, like... Not like a full-time job.
It's a full-time job.
Okay, listen.
You have to take care of the grounds and dig the holes. What do you think?
I'm stupid. Disregard that. I can edit this out, but I'm not going to. Okay, so a group of 5 grave diggers described the creature as gliding through the trees. So they were basically digging. So on November 15, 1966, which was 3 days later, Roger and Linda Scarberry and Steve and Mary Millette were driving down Route 62 and reported to have seen a large man with wings standing in the middle of the road with reflective red eyes. They described him as being 6 or 7 feet tall with about a wingspan of 10 feet.
Oh, hell no.
I have this.
Okay, so to anyone, I'm sorry, I'm using them in feet, but I don't know meters because I'm American. So they decided to just get the fuck out of there, and they started speeding up to like 100 miles per hour. And in the 1960s, that's a lot. So
them little cars, their windshields would bust in people's faces. Was that in the 60s or was that in the 30s when they would do that?
Like the Great Gatsby?
Yeah.
That was the 20s. They described the creature like flying directly behind them. Even though they were going 100 miles per hour, that dude was like flying. Boy was like hauling ass to like catch up to them. So the Point Pleasant Register was the first to report the story, and it just spread like throughout the country after that. So their local newspaper interviewed them, and I think the article was like flying creature or something. So within the year, 100 sightings were reported in the Point Pleasant area, and they were all like one after the other corroborated the previous encounter. So one would say, "Oh, I saw this tall man with a wingspan of 10 feet," and the next dude would be like, "Me too," and the next one is like, "Oh my god, me too." But each person that said something always added something a little different, saying like, describing its behavior. Some of you were even adding characteristics of the creature, such as feathers. So this is kind of what I meant, where some people kind of described it as a winged humanoid creature with red eyes. Some described it having feathers. So on December 15, 1967, exactly 13 months after the first sighting, the Silver Bridge that connected Ohio and West Virginia collapsed. So it killed 46 people in the collapse. It was discovered that a single eye bar fractured, and it caused the pin that held it in place to give out. So like most of these... Yeah, like December 15, most of these people were like crossing the river to like go Christmas shopping or something.
Right, because this was the town where like the business district was on one side and the residential district, and then on the other side it was like where the shops and the restaurants were and stuff like that, right?
Yep.
Something like that. Mm-hmm. So people had to regularly commute from one side of the town to the other side of the town.
Yes, like it was a bridge that was used quite frequently. Right. So basically that event kind of cemented Mothman as being a bad omen to the locals, because there was a theory. Okay, so the event cemented the creature as a bad omen to the locals because there were reports. There was a few people that said that they saw it standing above the bridge when it collapsed.
Oh no!
And some people even mentioned that it was like flying around as they were trying to like help these people out of it.
What if he was just trying to hold the bridge up like Superman showing up?
See, that's the thing too. Like, this is the first time that it's been like it was used as a bad omen.
Yeah.
But you can also do it in the reverse and say that it was there to kind of warn people.
Right, I've heard that theory as well. What does the movie? What's the stance in the movie? I don't remember. All I remember was John Cusack.
Oh, I'm
like, and I was
sorry.
really little.
I never saw the movie. I probably should have.
Oh
for
my god,
something
are you
like this.
serious?
I know. Over the weekend when Dorigo said we should watch Mothman Prophecies, I was like, oh sure.
And then it was on nothing.
No,
Not
I couldn't
Hulu,
find
not
it.
Amazon Prime.
You know what? That's my excuse. Why isn't it on streaming services?
Because they want you to pay for it.
Actually, I'm sure it might be like on some weird like HBO. I don't know.
It's weird that like you haven't seen the movie, but you know about the story, and then Brie only saw the movie and didn't know about the story.
Yes. Okay, so there was a theory people trying to rationalize the creature. Some people suggested that what people were seeing were actually sandhill cranes because of the red patterns around their eyes. Some say the sightings were owls with pigment retinas reflecting off light, which I guess in some cases it would make sense. I mean, if you see, like, if you're out at night and then you see like a big ass bird in the bushes with like a red spot and then it just extends its wings, you're like, oh fuck, what is that?
So when the oil's all the way
A
up,
moth.
honey, like
Mothman.
whoever's seeing this,
Stop. Don't say it like that.
Like a last name.
Some of them don't know
Mothman?
But this one
Mothman.
you
Okay,
can, so
so
the way you
basically
do
the
it,
event
it's easy.
inspired the Mothman Prophecies
Put it right here.
by John
That
Keel,
goes that way.
like you said. Oh, it was a book, actually. It was a book written first by John Keel, and it eventually became a film adapted that I never saw, starring Richard Gere. There's actually a local statue of Mothman in
Richard
Point Pleasant.
Gere? Are
Did
you
I-
serious?
Did that autocorrect? What is this supposed to be? Richard who?
I thought it was John Cusack.
It goes down.
I'm just gonna say Richard
That's
Gere.
crazy. That's the Mandela effect.
Nuh-uh.
I could swear it was John Cusack.
Mm.
Whoa, that's weird.
Okay, that's gonna be weird if we get like emails. Of people
Am I
saying,
the only one that remembers it like that then? Maybe he was in the movie and he just wasn't the main character. I don't know, but I swear I remember John Cusack being the main character in that movie.
I mean, I've never seen it, so like,
Oh, we need to watch it.
okay, let's
This would be
watch
the
it.
perfect time. Like,
Yeah.
you've seen those posts where people are like the Berenstein Bears and the Berenstain Bears,
Mandela effects, yeah.
and that person.
Those
that,
are kind of scary because I feel like that
It's all the way down.
I've had situations where I've experienced something like that, and I'm like, no, I don't want to think about
is
it.
a little scary.
Not like scary, but it kind of like freaks me out.
Yeah. Well, there's been some
'Cause, like, I was
specifically,
in a
like,
place
I can
where,
remember the
I'm gonna be having
Berenstain
that one in my
books.
mouth, and you just do this.
Some lady came out with like a copy of the book that was spelled the other way, and she's like, "Then what is this? If it's that way, what the fuck is this?" And we were like, "Whoa, that book made it into our reality! Oh
The
shit!"
thing is I think it's Berstain, like Stain.
See,
Sorry,
always in the bottom.
I think it's Berstain because that's how it's pronounced. If it were EIN, it'd be Berstein.
That's how I pronounced it. I went to school in
Bearstein
Florida.
Bears.
Yeah, that's exactly how I remember it. We're getting way
Sorry,
off topic.
Sorry.
You don't
So
want
yeah,
that.
there's a local statue of Mothman in Point Pleasant, and if you've ever seen it, okay, not to be weird, but that statue got that wagon.
Ooh, he thick.
He thick. Okay, look up, like, Google a picture of this Mothman statue, and boy, he got that wagon.
If I back it up, is it fat
Stop.
enough?
Okay,
Is that copyrighted?
yes, probably.
Fuck.
Please don't sue us. I have $3.
I watch too many TikToks.
Okay, so there were online rumors of Mothman sightings. There were online rumors of Mothman sightings before the Chernobyl disaster and 9/11. I can't corroborate.
Oh, I remember that somebody, like, I came out like years later that supposedly Mothman was seen like before the Chernobyl disaster.
Mhm.
That's so weird.
Yeah.
But what a coincidence that nobody talked about it before. It was only after.
I mean, it's possible. I mean, and even like 9/11, I'm sure that there's like some edited video of someone editing a flying moth. I don't know. Sorry, one thing I should mention is that there was another theory of supposedly there were radioactive areas around Point Pleasant. I don't know what the theory is exactly. I didn't write in my notes.
I think that like leans more it being like alien is what that means, right?
Anyways, I
'Cause usually
found
when
this
an
while
alien
walking.
comes, like
I'm
it's super
gonna
radioactive.
put it in the
No, I meant like radioactive, like because of pollution. Like
Oh, okay, not like Mothman causing the radioactive.
no, I meant like a moth fell into a radioactive tub and became the first sex.
He is. What is it called? He's
Mothman.
no. When you the animals, they're gonna get mutated. He's mutating the animals.
Okay, we're bad at words, but I'm gonna move on. Okay, that was my first half of my notes. My second, in 2017, there were 55 reported sightings in Chicago between April to July.
Hold on. I'm gonna hold on because I'm scared.
Why?
Because we go to Chicago all the time.
Yeah.
Okay.
I remember the last time we were there, you said something about, oh, there were Mothman.
A flying man is what I told you.
Oh my god! See, and the thing is like I didn't put two and two together when all you said was like, oh, near the Congress Theater there's a flying man, and I was like, shut the fuck up. I didn't. Wow. Okay, that makes me seem angry.
No, but you really do talk to me like that, so don't hide it now. Don't hide it now.
Okay.
Tell
Anyway,
everybody.
between April and July, there were 55 reported sightings in Chicago, which is like Chicagoland area.
Right.
So there was an eyewitness, John Amitrano, thought he saw a plane, but then noticed how awkwardly it was flying. So this is one of the first reported sightings. He said, end quote, "It didn't look like a bat so much as what illustrations of pterodactyls look like. I know what birds and bats look like. This thing did not have any fur or feathers, and it didn't fly like anything I've ever seen." He also added that the creature had muscular legs and a jutting tailbone. So,
That wagon.
he
He doesn't skip leg day.
he really doesn't. If he got muscular legs, like what moth
muscular-
has muscular legs? Name one.
Mothman.
Okay. Eyewitnesses spotted the creature mid-flight. Some people say that it would drop onto car hoods and like peer into windows. So like if you imagine like just trying to go to sleep with like the fucking blinds open, and you just see like fucking deep
I still
red
like
eyes
wolves
just
because I'm
looking
gonna
at you. I don't think I
get, like,
included it in
oh.
this one, but there was one lady reported that she was driving and the Mothman, like, or something big, I guess, landed on her car hood and was like riding along with her. And eventually, I think when she stopped at a red light, the thing was still there.
Did he pay her gas money?
He just hopped on for the ride.
He really did. Hell no, that would have scared the shit out of me.
God, imagine like driving and you see the little fingers on the side.
Oh, stop. Please, I'm not going to be able to sleep tonight.
Okay, so Lon Strickler, a paranormal researcher, theorized that there were at least 3 Mothmen. There were 3 Mothmen around Chicago due to such varied locations. So basically he's saying like the one creature cannot be like in all these parts at the same time, so it has to be multiple of these creatures.
I don't know what just happened. I'm not going to say anything.
I hit my face. Okay.
It's the ghost.
So on November 26, 2019, a man spotted a 7-foot tall person with wings, quote, in a parking lot near a cargo dock at O'Hare Airport in Chicago. The creature began flapping its wings while walking away from the building towards an open field, then it flew away.
Wait, did we watch this interview? It was a Hispanic guy, right?
I don't think we watched it, but I think I read it to you.
Gotcha.
Well, I think it came out... If the event occurred in November 26, I told you about it in December, so this was just a few months ago. The witness stated that he's been to the location multiple times before, so he estimated the height of the creature using the fence as a reference. So, I mean, if you walk by the same place and say, oh, that's probably 8 feet, and the creature was probably near that. Okay, his description of the creature, like, corroborates many other sightings in the area, such as being a bat-like, bird-like, red-eyed, and leathery. He added that it had a demonic aura, and it had a very duende-like features. So duendes are basically goblins in Latin America, and I know the Philippines had its own version of it, but they're basically goblins, and you don't fuck with them. Out of all scary stories in Latin America, duendes are the few that actually scare me. And it's crazy because my aunts always post like pictures of like little gnomes and garden gnomes. And I'm like, I know what you're trying to do, but that's a fucking garden gnome from Lowe's. Anyway, besides the point. So the witness mentioned that there was a very heavy presence of evil, and he refused to talk about it after that.
A lot of these people are under the impression that if you talk about it, it comes to you again.
Mm-hmm. Yes. When asked if he had seen something similar before... This is a direct quote from the article. I could not put it in my own words, and this was written very nicely. So, when asked if he had seen something similar before, the witness stated that he had before when he was a teenager back home in Mexico. The witness stated that he saw a solid black-winged creature that was circulating an open field that he and other children were playing soccer in. He stated it circled the field and made a loud screeching noise before flying off into the surrounding forest. When I asked him if he remembered the date of the situation, he stated that he did not remember the exact date, but a week later there was a large earthquake in Mexico City. For the record, the magnitude 8.0 earthquake that hit Mexico City was on September 19, 1985.
He was there too.
Mm-hmm. The aforementioned earthquake happened at... This is no longer the quote. So the aforementioned earthquake happened at 7:17 a.m. with 2 large aftershocks, resulting in the death of at least 5,000 people, 412 collapsed buildings, and 3,124 severely damaged buildings. It was estimated to be $3 to $4 billion of damage. So that was bad. So basically, like, Mothman happens to be around when disasters happen. Additional sightings happened all over the Chicagoland area, as north as Rosemont Beach and as south as Tinley Park. But that's just north to south, east to west. I didn't write down. There were also sightings in Milwaukee, but this is not about them, so we're going to exclude them. There is a map online called the Chicago and Regional Linked Humanoid / Flying Entity Sightings and Encounters Interactive Map. So I included 5 of the few that were the most scary. And also there's a few that, shout out to the family I got out there. So August 2016 in Cicero, Illinois, a man witnessed a 7-foot-tall humanoid creature with red amber eyes perched on a streetlight above him. He put his hands to block the light, so he tried to look up and block the light, and the creature reacted by flapping its wings twice and flying away. Like, imagine just standing under a fucking streetlight and that thing is above you. On February 8, 2017, in Chicago, Illinois, witnesses driving southbound on I-294 saw that what they described as a, quote, person running on 2 legs across the highway that shape-shifted into a large black bird and flew up and away. On May 5th, 2017, in Calumet Park on the east side, shout out to law enforcement officer, his son, and other witnesses saw a blackish, grayish humanoid flying in the sky with wings that appeared to be 8 to 10 feet in width. August 13, 2017, in the city of Chicago, a witness and his girlfriend saw something fly over them after Lollapalooza. They ignored it and kept walking, and then they noticed a large black creature about 7 feet in height hunched over in a field. It unfolded its wings, described it almost 10 feet in width across, and flew away. This happened in a matter of 5 seconds. So there were people that witnessed all of this. August 27th, 2017, in Forest Park, Illinois, a retired Michigan police officer visiting his mother at an assisted living facility began walking his mother's dog around 8:45 p.m. He noticed a black creature described as a dark gargoyle, perched and crouched on the rooftop of community center building. Standing about 50 feet away, the creature began to make a guttural growling sound, causing the dog to bark. The witness noticed small, glowing red eyes, claw-like hands, and a dark membrane covering the wings. Like fucking Jeepers Creepers. He estimated... Can you imagine?
That's the wrong state, buddy. You're supposed to be in Florida.
Jeepers Creepers is in Florida?
Yes.
Maybe
The Sunshine State.
Look, yeah.
You got the skunk ape in the Everglades and Jeepers Creepers flying around stealing your eyes in the country.
Okay, shut up, Florida man. So he estimated the wingspan to be about 15 feet in width. So it dropped its wings and propelled itself into the air, making no sound as it ascended. That's scary. So there is a local theory that was circling around I don't know who exactly started it, but my sister Carla told me about it. So basically, as I mentioned before, the sightings of Mothman have been said to be omens of a disaster. There is one currently circulating in the Chicagoland area that Mothman sightings may be a warning for the I-80 bridge in Joliet over the Des Plaines River. So the bridge is ugly and in disrepair.
I've seen it. This is true.
Yeah. And it's scary, honestly. I feel like I have to hold my breath every time I drive over it. And even I have friends on Facebook that have said, like, don't fucking drive on this. Local, city, and state representatives kept pushing it off of each other, causing the bridge to get worse over time. So some local officials would be like, this isn't a local issue, this is a state issue. State officials would be like, no, this is a federal issue. Federal people would be like, no, this is a city issue. The previous Illinois governor, Bruce Rauner, made obvious efforts to make himself an enemy of organized labor unions. So in response, construction unions paid to display cross bridge at your own risk on electronic billboards near the bridge. I think you've seen those, right?
Yeah.
So this eventually caused motorists to generate support for an infrastructure bill. Yeah, there's just signs everywhere, like some are like electronic billboards where it says like cross at your own risk. So on January 14, 2019, the Illinois new governor, J.B. Pritzker, was sworn in, and in late June 2019, he signed a bipartisan bill named Rebuild Illinois, which is worth $45 billion to repair Illinois' infrastructure. The I-80 bridge has become a poster child for the new bill, so hopefully it doesn't collapse. But if you don't understand it.
So Chica's mouth is going around.
Yeah, I mean, if the first sightings were in 2017, like, it's been 3 years, like, I would not risk it. Like, at that point, if you see Mothman, you better make sure everything is fucking taped up. Make sure everything
Just like the women. He just wants to move.
Well, I mean, between April and July, I'm sure he's on a vacation. So that's my story of Mothman.
Hey, that was great.
I feel like it was good. Yeah. 3 out of 5.
7.5 out of 9.
Oh wow, you did not have to be that honest.
I'm just kidding.
Okay.
Well, thanks for listening to our first episode of Get Spooky. First and last episode. We can't afford another one. So, I guess we're going to try to, like, tell scary stories, tell urban legends, tell murders, just from all around the world. And I think it's really interesting. A lot of the podcasts that we usually listen to are stories that we listen to really stick to, like, a very USA-centered, Canada-centered, and I think it's a little time for a change.
Yeah, I definitely feel like Latin America is not homogenous, so I feel like every single country, and then even then, every single region has like its own kind of scary stories.
Send us your scary stories.
Well, not yet.
We'll eventually get there.
Yeah, I mean, you can.
Or legends. Maybe
Yeah,
some
send us some
folklore like
suggestions.
that people know.
Suggestions would be really appreciated if you have any. I already have a topic for the next episode.
Well, I do too. But I cannot wait to talk about Blue Cross stories. Those scare the shit out of me.
That should be its own special.
You know what? You know what I was thinking about when you talked about Mothman flying over the kids playing soccer?
What?
I'm like, that's a blue guy. She was like,
I didn't even think about that.
yeah, fucking witch. So thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening to the first, not the last episode.
The pilot episode.
The pilot episode.
Hey. Bye.
Hey, wait. Thanks for listening. Please follow us on Instagram at Get Spooky Podcast. Also, email us any story suggestions or your own scary stories at getspookypodcast@gmail.com. We want to give special thanks to Cody Barnes, Taylor Turner for the artwork, and Kyle Fields for the intro music. Bye. Get Spooky Podcast contains explicit language and content that may not be suitable for some listeners. Listener discretion is advised.
everything that will occur.
Okay, well, this is our second episode, so how do we start this one?
There you go.
This is not the
Got
final
this.
episode. This is episode 2 of Guest Cookie
There you go.
Podcast.
You guys got a
We're your
There you
hosts. That's Kevin.
And that's Andres.
Well, you're right.
We're the Kiss Spooky Podcast, where two guys scare each other with stories of paranormal encounters, urban legends, and true crime from around the world.
Hey.
So, well, what's going on? What's going on with you? What's going on?
As you know, I had a great time trying to set up the VPN to work from home today. And it still doesn't work, so I guess I'm going to go back to work and work some tomorrow and then come home. It's going to be great. And as of today, there's 44 victims of the coronavirus and not 45 dead cases. Combined cases and one death.
I've only had 3 panic attacks in this situation, but
Fuck,
I think I'm better now.
They
It's got a lot
all
of
one
weird stuff like there's restaurants out on the road, definitely a restaurant when you drive home.
Okay, we're got
There's
43.
Yeah, it's kind of becoming very empty when you drive around.
I'm ready
I think it's going to be scary for a while until everything kind of mellows out, but
58, 59, 60,
I mean, the social distancing helps.
63.
Yeah.
So don't go outside. Instead, listen to this episode.
Quit hanging out with people or go exercise outside by yourself.
You know, just don't go outside. Instead, Netflix has the second and third Lord of the Rings movies. They don't have the first one, but I'm sure you can find it somewhere online.
Is it on Cracker?
Oh no, I couldn't find it.
Oh, and we rewatched the Malcolm Prophecies this
Oh
weekend.
yes.
And it was not John Cusack.
Welcome to the podcast where we talk about movies we haven't watched, and then we give you an update that we watched it. I actually like the Malcolm Prophecy, surprisingly. I know it's kind of an old movie, and I know I'm judgy on old movies, like, what's that one zombie movie?
Dawn of the Dead?
No, that was scary.
Day of the Dead?
No, that was scary.
Night of the Dead?
No, that was scary. Night of the Living Dead, like the very first one where the zombies were that type of show is cheese.
Oh, they stunned me.
That's why I like it. Really good. But that one was actually good. I'm saying old, like it was just made in like 2003 or something. But
Which
still.
I?
You know Mothman wasn't a zombie movie, right?
Okay, but what I'm saying is, listen, you didn't come here to listen about movies.
Bitch asshole.
Do you want to just jump in?
Sure. I went first last time, so you go first this time.
I don't know if I should say the title of my story, but it's a true crime story. My story is of La Mata Viejitas. Do you know?
The old lady killer?
Yes, Mata Viejitas means the little old lady killer. So, my sources are a YouTube video from TV Azteca documentary La Historia detrás del mito, posted and created by Carlos Manuel Cruz Mesa, an article in Cronica.com.mx by Carlos Jimenez, an article in Proceso by La Reducción, article in Stranger's Guide by The Stranger's Guide, article in El País by Juan Martinez Arons. So,
Oh gosh, wait.
what?
I completely forgot. I wanted to talk about. So over the last weekend, I finally stopped to actually listen to the podcast because Kevin edited it. So I didn't get a chance. I didn't get a chance to listen to it like you did. And I want to just clarify that it's actually saltpeter, not salt pepper. And I cringed every single time I heard myself say salt pepper in the last episode. I was like, it's saltpeter. How the fuck can I forget
Are you
that?
saying pewter?
Saltpeter. Peter. Saltpeter.
Pewter. Yes. Okay. I thought you were trying to say saltpeter, like pewter
You don't
city.
want me close there.
Okay. Anyways,
Sorry, moving on.
don't interrupt. We can do a corrections afterwards.
Okay.
I may have a correction. I'll think of one. Okay, so setting in 1998, a series of murders began in Mexico City. All the victims were women over the age of 60 and they all lived alone. None of the crime scenes showed any signs of forced entry or robbery. All victims were strangled, stabbed repeatedly, and had their clothes removed. Some victims showed evidence of blunt force trauma or sexual assault, but all victims died from strangulation. Victims that were assaulted, it was done more of a form of humiliation as a form of like rape. this is not a... It was made it seem like the victims' bodies were put like as a form of like sexual humiliation. Does that make sense?
Clarify one more time.
Basically, if they weren't raped for pleasure, I guess.
Oh, okay. So basically, when they found these bodies, they saw that these bodies had evidence of sexual assault.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
This is not going to be a light story. This is a dark story. So local newspapers picked up the stories of the first 3 homicides. Authorities believed at the time that there was nothing in connection to the murders, like nothing connecting the murders, and that the media was sensationalizing them. Eyewitnesses described the perpetrator as being average height, having short, light brown hair with highlights and a brown back and wearing red clothing. Local police finally acknowledged the pattern after a few homicides and started a search for a man meeting these specific characteristics. It was theorized that they had, that what they were looking for was a copycat killer, because the MO was very similar to Thierry Collat, known as the Monster of Montmartre, a French serial killer from the 1980s who only targeted older women. So, Ricardo Ham, a writer and investigative journalist, in the documentary mentioned that the authorities should have given a public service announcement warning of the killer, but no such announcement was given due to, according to him, ignorance and lack of preparedness from the judicial police. So, due to the publicity, local newspapers dubbed the serial killer as a materialista. You know, that just was the early 2000s by the time they noticed the trend. So basically they were saying like, who's this guy that's doing that? Authorities theorized that they were looking for a male pretending to be either a government social worker or a nurse and the trust due to the eyewitness description and they keep saying like, oh, we're looking for a man. So keep that in mind.
So, wait, so, oh my god, so like, somebody saw this person in a dress and they're like, no, it has to be a man.
Good job.
The thought never occurred to them that it was a woman.
Well, spoilers.
Keep going.
Well, I don't know if this person is a male or a woman, or a female. But it's just like, this person is in a dress.
Yeah, they were in a dress and the police insisted like, okay, so we're looking for that. Like the eyewitnesses all said, no, they were someone in a dress. So because of that, police questioned sex workers in the city, so like sex workers. But it was at the time that the victims' bodies were found, there were grocery bags close to the front door or in the kitchen, which made authorities believe that the murderer lured the women and convinced them that he was trustworthy by offering them groceries. So criminologist Patricia Payan expected a 3D recreation of the killer using eyewitness descriptions, again emphasizing the masculine features. Using photos of the 3D recreation and another artist rendition, authorities began notifying the elderly throughout Mexico City and surrounding towns. More than 300 police officers were assigned to work undercover as regular civilians in public plazas, churches, and parks. So on January 2006, around 2:30 p.m., Jose Manuel Lopez arrived home at the residence of 82-year-old Ana Maria de las Flores Alfaro. He rented a room at the far end of her home around Colonia Montezuma Primera Sección, which is a neighborhood east of Mexico City. He walked in and saw Ana Maria's body. While he observed the body, he saw them run towards the patio. He chased after them while he alerted the police nearby. After running to the end of the street, they apprehended the suspect who carried a folder with copies of electoral credentials, a list of people's names, a blood pressure machine, and a fake ID that was used to trick victims. The suspect they had captured was a woman named Juana Barraza Samperio.
A woman.
A woman.
A man in a dress.
A woman. Juana Barraza Samperio, so just a little background on her life. It's very traumatizing, and there is a trigger warning here. So, Juana Barraza Samperio was born on the 27th of December in 1957 in Epazoyucan, Hidalgo, a rural area north of Mexico City. She was raised by an alcoholic mother who reportedly exchanged her for 3 beers to a man who repeatedly raped her and by whom she became pregnant with a son at the age of 13. Yeah. She lived with him until she was 17 when she ran away by jumping the man's fence using a broken piece of the fence and a bucket. She took her son, of course. She worked at Lucha Libre events after that, selling popcorn, and on occasion would partake on the events going by the name of La Dama del Silencio, or the Woman of Silence. At the time of her arrest, I guess she was in jail and she showed interest in learning how to write because she never learned it as a child.
So this was the arrest when she got caught for committing murders, right?
Yes.
What do you know? How old she was at this point?
She was 48. So she was 48 when she was arrested. So opening up to some one-on-one reporters, she shared that she deeply missed her dad, who abandoned the family when Juana was still a child, and to whom her mother was physically violent towards. So this started growing resentment to her mother, and she eventually blamed her for her father leaving them. Okay, so after running away from the 40-year-old rapist, she moved to Mexico City, where she lived with a taxi driver for some time and then a drug dealer for some time, both of which fathered her children, the latter of which mysteriously disappeared. So I think we'll get back to the taxi driver. So days before Barraza's capture, TV Azteca, I think you heard this part when I was listening to it. But this part's kind of creepy. Okay, so a few days before Barraza's capture, TV Azteca, which is a news channel, it was recording a special in the Coliseo, which is a stadium in Mexico City. Mm-hmm. It was doing a documentary, like recording a special on Lucha Libre in Mexico. So Barraza was actually one of the attendees interviewed by the reporters. She was seated in the front row, and according to the guy that directed the documentary, she was wearing a red cocktail dress and high heels. Reporters noticed how out of place she seemed. She wasn't as active in Lucha Libre at the time of the recording. So they just asked her questions like, how long have you been coming like there? She responded saying 10 years. She talked about her Lucha Libre persona and her kids. They asked her, are you more of a ruda or técnica when it comes to your moves? She responded saying, ruda al corazón, which is equivalent to English saying back to the bone and around to the core. So according to my mom, because I did not understand this part, in Lucha Libre, rudos are considered like the bad guys.
Right, they take dirty.
As opposed to técnicos, which is considered the good guys. I mean, it's all show, like WWE, but don't tell the American audience that WWE is state.
I feel like maybe I should have watched more wrestling and kind of know what was going on.
John Cena. I think it's just Lucha Libre.
Oh, they pinned me!
Actually, I think in English they're called heels. Like bad guys are called heels. So, a few more facts about her. She worshipped La Santa Muerte, which is holy death.
I'm not ready.
Which I guess partially inspired her Lucha Libre persona, because La Dama del Silencio, like she moves in silence.
Like that.
Yes. So criminologist Martín Gabriel Barón noted that Barraza was so dedicated to Lucha Libre because she saw it as a way to get out of poverty and to provide a better life to her 4 kids. I mean, that's why she was so dedicated to it. There were 2 big changes in her life that changed her drastically, I guess in her adulthood. The first being that her eldest son was killed by a gang during a mugging, which just scarred her, like it changed her. The second being a bad fall that she had while performing Lucha Libre. Her doctor told her that if she had another bad fall, or if she continued doing what she was doing, she would end up being paralyzed. So she stopped doing Lucha Libre, but still frequented events. This eventually led up to her expressing her anger with murder. So I guess it's theorized that she had so much pent-up anger from her childhood, like so much trauma over the years, that she used Lucha Libre as a form of like releasing that anger. When she had to stop, she found alternatives. So her first murder took place in the late 1990s with very little details to the homicide. At the time of her capture, she confessed to have only murdered Ana Maria Los Reyes, which was the one that they saw her running away from. So that was a sufficient enough confession to have the case picked up by the Procuraduría General de Justicia del Distrito Federal, which, I guess translated, turns out to be the Attorney General of the Federal District. I didn't know there was a direct translation for the word Attorney General. I don't know. Just a fun fact.
Yeah.
After a fingerprint test with comparing fingerprints left at other crime scenes, they were able to tie her to 6 different homicides.
Wow, so she was working overtime.
Well, it was from like 1998 to 2006 were estimated when she was committing these homicides.
Well, committing one murder is one too many, so...
Fuck yeah, good job, guys.
Oh, that's not even... we'll get to it.
Okay.
Shut up.
Oh, and by the way, just an aside, usually people that worship La Santa Muerte are drug cartel members, people that practice witchcraft, and so it's not a good, usually it's not a good thing to be doing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's good people, so we're very much generalizing, but La Santa Muerte is very much tied to, like, a means to an end, like, regardless of who's in the way.
People are pretty much giving themselves up to the Holy Death, which is directly translated. And as to the Holy Death to kill their enemies and stuff. It's just like, it's very strange.
Yeah, it's not something that you may want to
dabble in.
Yeah, that's the word.
So sorry, I just had to add it in there because we kind of didn't. I didn't want to interrupt you, but we didn't really talk about it. And I thought that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, no, that's partially why. Like, I know in Mexico City there's a huge shrine. There's actually a special on Netflix called Dark Tourist. Like they visit, like, I guess, dark tourism. So one episode in particular is based on Latin America, and I think they go to the shrine in Mexico City. You know, it's a personal choice. If you want to do that, go ahead. So moving on. So comparing those 6 different homicides that they were able to link her to cases that shared similar MOs, prosecutor Bernardo Batiz said that there was a 99% chance that she had committed at least 11 homicides and 1 attempted homicide. Yeah, I see your eyebrows going up, but that's not even the worst part.
That man in the dress was so busy.
Dude, she was... Anyway.
I'm just so shook that they, like, didn't think of the possibility of this person in a dress not being a woman.
It really is because of the subject. Terrible points for feminism, honestly. Like to think it's like a woman committing murder.
It must have been a man in a dress.
It must have been a man in a dress. Okay, so according to the Attorney General, in the last 8 years, there were 48 reported homicides where the victims were elderly women. 10 of those were from 1998 to 2003, 35 of those were from 2004 to 2005, and 38 homicides had similar characteristics. Does that add up to 48? I don't know. We're at a math podcast.
We don't know math here. We didn't finish college.
What do you think we are?
I don't think accounting, since the person that was in there.
Yikes. So, Marrosa matched every single eyewitness description. She insisted that she was not the Materejitas, saying that authorities were mistaken that they were looking for a male. Ironically, at the time of her arrest, she was wearing a red sweater that matched exactly to the 3D Bust Recreations red clothes. If you can, and if you want, you can look it up. It's kind of funny. Like, she was wearing a red sweater at the time of her arrest, and the red bust that they made had like red clothes. So when she's standing behind it, and they're like newspapers are like taking pictures of her, like they look exactly the same. It's
Wait, so what did they do? Like a bust? What do you mean?
Yeah, it was a bust, like a 3D recreation of it.
Gotcha. So like instead of doing a sketch, somebody did like a bust of like what they thought they saw?
They did multiple.
Okay.
Because I mean, like, eventually, like when there were so many murders going on that matched all of these, you know, MOs, like they wanted to get the word out.
Right. That's strange because it's like here, all we get is like some really shitty pictures when somebody does something bad. And they made a whole lot of buzz.
Specifically with like
of this man in the dress.
Charcoal. It's always a charcoal.
Charcoal.
Never mind, what am I talking shit about?
The American justice system?
Not even that. What's the word? Sketch artists.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Wow, that's a while. Okay, so her entire demeanor remained calm from the time of her arrest to her trial and up to her sentencing.
That's creepy.
Yeah, because she insisted, she's like, that's not me, you're looking for a man.
She's creepy, but she's playing like she knew what she was doing.
Yeah. Like, just the entire time, like, that she was, like, under, like, in her trial, she she acted like it was like, oh my god, this is such a waste of time. A waste of my time, I
Had
guess.
no remorse for what she did, absolutely none. And I mean, like, yeah, you can say that she went through some pretty terrible things growing up, but a lot of people do too, and they don't do those things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not to, discount what happened to her. I'm not trying to say that it wasn't a big deal what happened to her, but like...
No, I get what you mean. Like, there's a lot of people that go through trauma and don't end up, becoming a serial killer.
Yeah.
Okay, so investigators noticed many small items with very little value that were missing during crime scenes, all of which had some type of religious meaning. Like, it can be like a crucifix or a Bible or images of saints. So all of these items were eventually recovered at Barraza's residence. Police theorized that they were some form of trophy. And thinking about it, I think she was maybe thinking, like, I know what I just did, and I'm taking this religious object to, like, ask for forgiveness, maybe?
Well, she worshipped the Holy Death, so...
Yes, but, I mean, if you're going to bring up the Holy Death again, La Santa Muerte, it's not canon for Catholicism, but a lot of Catholics in Mexico consider La Santa Muerte as a saint. I guess their train of thought is death is just as natural as birth, so death has to be death is regulated by God. God decides who dies. God decides who lives. So death has to be a servant of God. That's their understanding.
Yeah, which makes sense, yeah.
So that's why a lot of people that worship La Santa Muerte don't see it as an evil being. They see it as it's one of God's servants, so there's nothing evil about it.
I've never actually heard that angle before. That's very interesting.
The more you know. We like learning here. And we like learning. Anyway. So it was theorized that she used the fake government ID to say that she worked for social programs aimed at helping the elderly throughout the city to earn their trust and allow them into their homes. So 3 of the victims owned a print of the 18th century painting titled Boy in Red Waistcoat by French artist Jean-Baptiste Claus. The significance of this print has never been revealed. Just thought I'd throw that in there. I mean, 3 of the victims out of all of them had the same painting. I don't know.
Were they, I don't know if you'll know this, but was this the earlier homicides or the later ones?
I don't know. Let me just say that.
Is it homicides or murders?
I think homicide is a more judicially accepted term. Maybe. Okay, so through this investigation, they were able to recreate her final homicide, so that of Ana Maria. So, graphic warning. Barraza acquainted herself with Ana Maria's daily routine of walking around the local park. So she kind of followed her on what she did. I'm assuming for a few days. What exactly?
Wow, she dead-ass scoped her out.
So on the day of the murder, Barraza approached her, showed her the fake government badge, and told her that she was there to help her with any small tasks around the house, such as laundry, getting groceries, or checking her blood pressure with the aforementioned machine. That's why she carried it with her. As a proof of oh look, I'm here to check your blood pressure. I work for the government. You can trust me. As Ana Maria's 3 kids rarely visited her, she allowed Barraza in her house, which is kind of sad. Please check up on your grandmothers.
Yeah.
Or your moms, I guess, in this case. Once Barraza was inside, she hit Ana Maria's head and, using her deceased husband's stethoscope, strangled her to death. So this was Ana Maria's husband's stethoscope. On the 31st of March 2008, in Santa Marta de Acatitlan, Barraza was sentenced to 759 years and 17 days in prison for the 17 confirmed homicides.
They're mad.
Yes, that they were able to confirm through evidence, or through, I guess one was admission of guilt. It became the longest sentencing in Mexico's history, and she is serving the sentencing in a federal prison in Coatzacoalcos. The 3D reconstruction bust of Barraza was added to the exhibit called Asesinos Seriales del Centro Cultural Policial del Distrito Federal, or translated to Serial Killers in the Police Cultural Center of the Federal District.
What a mouthful.
Yeah, these are not short titles.
No.
So this honor is actually shared with Jack the Ripper and the Narcos Satánicos, which may be a future episode.
The Narcos Satánicos?
Yes.
The satanic drug cartel members? This sounds interesting.
So different sources report the number of homicides that she committed, but they range from 42 to 48 between the years she was active. 17 of those homicides were considered proven by either evidence or confession, like I mentioned. In comparison to a U.S. serial killer, Eileen Wuornos, just like a comparison, committed a total of 6 homicides.
Eileen Wuornos was who they made the movie Monster about, right? She's
Yes.
from Florida? Okay.
So she was actually Mexico's first and only female serial killer.
What a great title to have.
You'll love to see it.
Oh my god.
She was in the spotlight recently in 2015 when she got married to a man in the same prison who was serving a homicide sentence. They later divorced a year later in 2016. They had met in person 3 times, and each of those times it was for 40-minute intervals.
So they really got to know each other.
40 minutes.
Plenty of time.
They're like, quickly, what do you like?
Favorite color?
A favorite color?
Ice cream.
What's your favorite ice cream? Yeah, they did that 40 minutes.
3 times.
Who said romance was dead, honestly? It seemed like it. So one thing I should mention, it was kind of hinted at, but basically when they found Ana Maria de los Reyes Alfaro's body, according to the eyewitness that found her, he said that there was actually 2 people running away from the scene. One was Juana Barraza, and the other one looked like a man.
Is this another man in a dress?
No, actually, it was
We
just
lost one player, dude. That's some bullshit.
Okay.
Pretty
I'm tired of the Mexican justice system.
So there is a theory that she had an accomplice, that being the taxi driver that she fell in love with and had kids with, but there's nothing concrete. I couldn't find anything. That's just a theory. I think there was just a few sources that said that she may have had an accomplice, but nothing concrete.
Wow.
So that was my story of La Mata Viejitas, a little old lady killer.
Yeah.
Did you like it?
I didn't really know a lot of the details about that. I kind of heard. I didn't even know that was the person's name. That's what they referred to her as, or that they were male or female. But I knew that there was somebody that had murdered people of an older age through the 90s and early 2000s, because it was on the news.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, growing up, it would come up on the news. Another person found this a similar way in Mexico City and stuff like that. So.
I mean, yeah, they finally found her in 2006. I mean, I was in 6th grade or something, 6th or 7th grade.
I had already moved here to Oklahoma.
I was a baby.
In Illinois.
But yeah, I mean, it's estimated that she killed at least, 48 people. My God. And like you mentioned, not to justify these killings, but she lived through a lot of trauma that I wish she would have addressed.
I wonder how many years she would have gotten if they had found evidence for more of those murders and not just 17 of them.
Yeah. I mean, with those 17, she got 759 years. I mean, it's not like she can get any lower. It's maybe one day.
Did you find that weird that the Mexican justice system does that? They don't do life sentences.
Yeah.
They do, they tell you how many years you're going to be in jail, and, sometimes people are in jail for, 800 years.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I mean, you want something to put on their calendar. Like a day to look forward to or something.
When they're dust.
But, I mean, in the U.S., they mentioned, a lifetime sentence isn't really a lifetime sentence. Isn't it, 75 years or something?
I have no idea.
I heard that somewhere. Don't fact check me.
Maybe you should have looked that up before.
Don't fact check me.
Wow.
Tee.
Okay, well, I guess we're moving on, and I am here to talk about women in white.
Lady in white.
Wow. So I kind of wanted to talk about La Llorona. She is a staple in Mexican culture. She is used to frighten little Mexican and South American kids up and down the South America and Middle America, right? And so I kind of started getting into it, and I realized that there is a lot more women in white reported everywhere in the world, across different cultures and across different times. Not just La Llorona. It was very it was kind of eye-opening when I was doing my research, and I saw that we have La Llorona, but in Venezuela we have being called La Sayona, and so
I'm getting cavities, but
usually these women,
what is that? Try our new idea from the team.
And they have a tragic
experiment
involving
with gameplay,
betrayal, death, loss, or suicide.
Dude, I haven't seen
so
that.
The story of the Llorona that I grew up listening to.
How interesting.
As legend says, that in the times of the Spanish conquistadors,
because I did it
a man around from
Okay,
Spain.
it says right there
and he met this
experimental. You
woman
guys are
instead
watching
and
it right
married
now,
her.
right?
And they fell in
Whoever's
love.
watching.
So they ended up having a few kids.
So Overwatch
but
put
the
this
older the kids
new
got,
character, because it's
definitely
4.
their socioeconomic
Anybody has played Overwatch, it's 4,
differences
right?
hindered their marriage.
But right
He
now,
was
I
from
just
money, he was
noticed
from
that.
royalty, and she was
That's insane, right?
indigenous. She lived in a
Okay,
village.
like,
She
you can go to
grew
my
up in,
YouTube,
with
right? Put the
dirt
numbers.
floors
It says
and washed her
experimental.
clothes, and he was used to people
Like,
doing that for him. Eventually,
I really
like,
wanna
they
see
kind of
this
just
shit.
started drifting
Okay.
apart, and they never really got divorced. But one day,
Because
it
this were
said
my
that
work
when Maria was
glasses,
walking
and I
into a
forgot
river,
they got
she saw her
scratched.
husband
The black
in a
ones are the
carriage with
good
another
one,
woman, and she was
they
so
have thinner,
angry,
like
so
thinner,
enraged that she didn't even
This
realize what she was
experimental
doing at that
console
moment.
pool. What in the
She
fuck?
threw kids in the river and drowned them
You
to
guys are
prove a
fucking
point
watching
to
that
her
shit?
husband. And
Fucking
after
for real,
that,
go to
after
YouTube,
she
like, go to
kind of
the-
like
look
calmed
at it.
down and realized what she'd done, she
I'm making you do
couldn't
it
bear
because
to
I want
live
you to.
with
It's
what
actually better
what she
quality.
did, so she drowned herself. As legend continues, so when she got to heaven, she was punished for her misdeeds and sent back to Earth, and was told that she had to find every last bone
like,
of her children that were
League Play. It's
drowned
not-
before she could get back into heaven.
Okay, joining.
So now
joining
people say that
the,
around
okay,
bodies of
so we're
water,
done with
you can hear the wailing and the crying.
I want to
of
hear
the
this shit.
winds.
I want to see the.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of variations
This is very interesting.
with the story of
Applying
Llorona, particularly
update.
the one that I grew up hearing, like, you know, bedtime stories.
Yeah.
It was very much like,
This is weird.
yeah.
Like, what?
An indigenous woman.
Okay, this is
I guess
cool.
They had 3 kids. That's one of the big things to the story that I did. And
Okay,
they all have variations again.
I can't
She had 3
use
kids with him. And
tags
when she became too
or
old,
support. They're all damaged.
as like the time was.
Oh, okay. I can dig that. Okay.
He told her like, hey, I don't want to be with you
I'm gonna
anymore. And
use
she
this one.
left for
Okay.
someone younger. So because she was mad, she tried to kill.
Oh, okay. So they're taking out support and defense,
Except
and
up to the
this one
point
is
where she
just
gets to
damage.
heaven, and St. Peter's at the gate because
Like, but it's competitive. So
and he
a lot
obviously
of them
knew
are
that.
attackers.
And he said, Maria ruined your kids. And she's like,
No.
they're
No,
not.
you can choose 3.
And
No, my
she
bad.
told them
I got
first
this
that
one because
they had a right
everybody
to
else
have
didn't
a
want
woman.
it.
So they're already behind the gates.
My
and
bad,
as
I'm
punishment,
messed
St. Peter said, go back to Earth.
I don't know what's experimental about this
So
shit
he
though.
basically damned her. And because my family is from Mexico City, there's a district called Xochimilco that's basically like 2 9,000 like little down. But that's where the story took place that has that city. But different parts of the world are different.
Another reason I really decided to do my notes, but I definitely do it.
Hey, let's go left.
My daughter was very promiscuous. She liked to go on things, and it was a big lady life up there. So, you know, her parents were thinking that she was this great kid, she was doing all these good things, and come to find out, she was sleeping around with a lot of men in the back and forcibly aborting the babies and throwing them in the pig pen so the pigs would eat them.
Yeah.
And then so when she died and she went to heaven, St. Peter met her at the gate and he's like, I want you to go back down there and collect all the bones of those fetuses that you fed to those pigs. Come back and I want you to it's a very early version of that story that I've never heard of before. It was very interesting to hear that kind of story. But so basically what happened is
I mean, I don't see the difference.
Float around yelling IME sequels in the middle of the night, and people just shut their windows and shut their doors and they don't come out. And reportedly, it happens to this day. People call it like I think it's like La Casa de la Llorona, specifically when it's I don't know where the legend came from, like how they knew like what happened in heaven or anything, but it happened in and talk about a time that
Okay, I'm gonna have to switch on.
Or I believe to be the Llorona. I don't know. When I was a kid, I grew up going to Mexico a lot in the summertime. So specifically in the summertime, we were out in Durango, where my parents are from. They're from a little town called Sardinas, probably like an hour away from this other, from the closest town called Monterrey, a little longer. We had been used to the government and local government police for people that came out and they visit hospital and most of the time, like, they don't have jobs. All they do is farm and like grow their food. There's no, there's like, I live with them. People are very simple. And they like it. There's nothing wrong with living like that. Like, I grew up in the roads with both.
Now they're mad at me.
There's no street lights out there.
Neural
Cable didn't
adaptation
really work.
complete.
It's like this guy pays for the cable that runs the cable out to all the houses, and everybody pays him a message for the bill at the end of the month. But whatever he's watching, everybody else is watching. And I have to take care of getting water. So the water comes down from the ceiling, pretty much they switched the water. It's like half of the time gets water to you and goes in, so the other half of the time gets water to you. And so you have to get enough water and fill up all your stuff to make sure that you have enough water to get into the weekend for the next couple of weeks. But I digress. So my sister and I were out, you know, it's pretty late in the evening, everybody's playing volleyball and they're, you know, playing basketball, and it's like where a lot of people gathered that were our age. A lot of people from the ages of like 5 to like maybe early 20s. So we're out there and then like a thunderstorm was going on.
Shit. I didn't see him.
And so this huge lightning strikes and the rain just starts pouring down. And as the rain's pouring down, it gets really dark. And all we hear is, I miss you calls coming from the river. Like just like a wailing. And everybody just kind of like stopped, looked around at each other, and it was pretty much, there was like 50 of us out there. We like all looked at each other and like looked at the fuck out. Like I swear I'm not going to
No, I'm gonna know you more.
and you don't fuck with that shit in my life. Especially when it's like sweet. Like you get caught. You got caught after something. Like you just go inside and play for the rest of the time. And to this day,
how did he not die, dude?
Think about
that weird comment.
Like whenever I'm near the river or a lake, I'm like,
maybe that didn't work.
I still get over this just because that happened.
Wow.
Yeah. I know, has my sister ever told you that story?
No.
Yeah. When you do the first one, tell you.
One of my great uncles, as I mentioned to last night, he said that he remembers being out in like a balcony or something at night and hearing that wailing. Like someone screaming like, you see for us like my kids.
Well, if you look on YouTube, a lot of videos that are posted about Leona are videos like that. People that are like woken up in the middle of the night and like, oh my god, I just woke up and I was wailing. I go out onto the balcony and there's like people coming out of the windows and stuff and cooking food. It's like very like deep wailing, like deep pain. It almost doesn't sound human.
Oh yeah, those videos are very,
Chico.
like, they're spooky.
They
Oh,
make
fuck,
that,
dude. Thank you. At least I got endorsed.
Especially because like the setting of most of these songs
you.
are really like horrendous.
Hey, guys. Thank you.
It's like
Really appreciate
you
the
feel how they
endorsement.
echo off of the buildings and it's like ominous.
Oh,
Like,
yo.
this is scary.
yeah, very much is.
Oh, shit. This dude.
Okay, so moving on, I think next I want to talk about La Sayona. So La Sayona is basically La Llorona, but the Venezuelan version. Her backstory is actually pretty interesting. It's kind of a little different. This legend begins with a woman named Casina, and I guess in Venezuela there's lots of plains. So this is a region of a lot of plains where she lived. And she was happily married, had a husband, had a kid. Her mom lived a few houses down from her. But in the middle of the day, she always liked to do this one thing, and it was to go take a bath in the river, which was, you know, like maybe a 15-minute walk. But eventually, I noticed that she was going to the river and taking baths. So
I mean, I don't know what's experimental about this. It's like the other gameplay.
My husband's gonna beat the shit out of you because you're out here watching me naked, bathing. And he's like, oh no, actually, like I wasn't following you, I swear, I just came to warn you. And she was like,
Maybe they're just doing updates because they just quit it.
your husband is cheating on you. And, you know, she's just standing there, like, with a look of awe, like, what are you talking about? And she's like, and he said, your husband is cheating on you with your mother. So, at this
What in the
point,
world?
yes. So, at this point, she was so
Overwatch.
angry and so enraged that her own mother would be doing
No, they
this
have
with the
5
father
kind
of
of
her
warriors,
child,
which I
that
think
she
is very
ran
strange.
all the way home. And when she got home, she flung open the door and found her husband and her child sleeping on the bed. But what did she do? She lit that house on fire. And, you know, like, people in the town were coming out, they're like, why the hell is people screaming? There's like a man screaming and a kid screaming, but we're burning in the house. So after she did this, she grabbed a machete from, you know, her kitchen utensils and ran out towards her mom's house and started chopping her mom up.
I don't think a machete is a kitchen utensil.
That was the joke. Welcome, that's the joke.
Thank you.
But she started chopping her mom up, and her mom was like, what are you doing on your mother? What are you doing? You know, her mother's screaming, and then she's like, you fucking cheated on me with my husband. How dare you? How could you? And she just looked at her like bleeding out. She was like, I would never do that to you. And basically her mom, in a fit of rage from her daughter chopping her up, cursed her and said, you're going to avenge all the women in the world that get cheated on by their husband. And that's what you're going to do for the rest of your time. For the rest of your life and after.
How is Latin American urban legends?
I'm crazy.
I guess she was considered like a protector of women that were cheated on, but I mean, did her mom actually die?
And in such a bloody way, she chopped her mom's ass up. And now, going into the details, settings of the report of specifically what men report is she appears to men asking for a ride. She'll be like, hey, can I have a ride? Or she'll ask for a cigarette. And when the man looks at her face, she has a full face, no skin, no muscle, just a skull and a white dress and number teeth. And I guess the man who's run away screaming and talk about it when they get home.
Were they men that cheated on her wives, or was it?
That's not clear, right? It's more of like a regional variance than a woman or something. So I think like the difference is that when you see her and she keeps a skull face and she doesn't reach it, that's lay it up. But when she's sitting and trying to attack you, it's probably like a woman you need to put you in the water. So also some other stuff that happens. I actually started reading on this story where Las Salonas actually kind of mixed in with La Capasola, which literally translates to the one foot. And La Capasola is another being of legend. It's kind of like the main part of the So what will happen is that men that are working on the rainforest will suddenly meet this woman, you know, this beautiful long-haired woman that are connected over
Just get in my trap.
Convinced them she's a pig. So it's just salacious things that they do.
There's a bad omen here. I felt my back. Somebody stabbed it.
Everything's like, okay.
Who's here, motherfucker?
Not even trying to
Like they're stinging me.
And
Fuck
so
you.
she'll take them out
Something-
into a secluded
Something else. I
and she will
don't
rip
know.
their muscles.
Stop bothering me. I haven't done shit to
on the
you.
floor.
Like,
They're just, they're not setting the bar high.
That's
They're just
weird,
like,
dude.
the bar's on the floor, they're just rolled over.
imagine if I
so
fucking
it's
see them. Oh my god.
So
Fuck
she
you.
will either rip their entrails off or rip off their muscles.
Nope. I don't know.
There are other versions where
I know they're kind of here because I feel like right here on my neck hurting, like I get stumped. But it's not that bad.
And they have boils
I
and
think you're hurting
pustules and stuff
a
like
little bit.
that.
Like you are.
So when they finally see the wild dog,
Whatever's bothering me, dude, I want.
fuck plus like, yeah, you fuck the ghost. Get the fuck out of here. You cheated on me with the ghost.
Ew.
So very much a protector of you stand.
Stand this. Stand this with the rain.
And
So it's not the murder part.
yeah, no, that's a little. So specifically, I found a story of a guy recollecting what happened to him when he was younger. The town's called El Regalo in Venezuela, and he talks about how. I'm sorry, I rolled my eyes a lot while I was typing this. While I was reading the story and typing it up, because okay, so this guy, he was younger and he was having an affair on his wife. He was having an affair with another woman.
It was a thought.
Yeah.
I'm
And
just kidding.
So he was having an affair, and what he was doing was he was waiting till his wife would fall asleep at night, and he would sneak out of the house and go meet his girlfriend.
Oh, creepy dude.
Oh my god.
So this one night, everything's normal. His wife goes to sleep, and he kind of sits there and listens to her till her breathing kind of even out, so he knows she's asleep. And so he's like, okay, now I'm gonna go, with my girlfriend. So he sneaks out of his house, and he's about halfway there when he notices a woman that looks just like his girlfriend walking, but she kind of has a limp. Her hair looks a little longer. Her clothes look kind of dirty, and he's like, what the fuck is she doing? So he keeps following her, and then when they get to her house, he sees that this woman walks past the house. So he goes, hey, what's going on? Like, this is your house. What are you doing? And when she turns around, like, her face was completely like she had eyes and she had a nose and she had a mouth, but like her skin was like porcelain white, like scary, like sick, ghostly. And when she bared her teeth at him, they were like sharp ass little needle teeth.
Oh my god.
Well.
So he didn't even make it to his girlfriend's house. He was at the door, but he turned around and ran all the way back home. And right when he's about to run into the door, she grabs him. The apparition grabs him and hugs him really tight. And she's getting tighter and tighter, and he feels his bones like they're gonna snap. And finally he wiggles, he's yelling, he's panicking and throwing his arms around. And he finally gets out of her grasp and runs in the door. And then his sister-in-law is waiting there. She's like, are you okay? I heard a racket. Like, what's going on? Are you all right? And he was like, you're not going to believe what the fuck just happened to me. I was outside, I had to go pee. So I just went outside for a second. And while I was peeing, this woman with razor-sharp teeth just grabbed me from behind and was trying to whisk me away. And so his sister-in-law kind of like looks at it. She's like, that sounds like you lost that one. Are you sure you're not taking on your wife?
I don't know, the mic don't work. I'm sorry, I can't hear you, so I'm clueless.
Dude, I didn't do that. And so this experience changed him so much that he recounts now in his older life that he never so much just looked at it again for the rest of his life. So she's teaching lessons.
So all she had to do,
doing the work.
All she had to do was show him a pretty wife, and he was like, humming, and ran Scooby-Doo style back home.
He said, fuck this and it was so Scooby-Doo style. I didn't think that there was also the Brazilian.
Shit. Oh, they brought me over here. That's very spiritual.
Diffondere moderne medicina.
How South Americans in the United States can be, like, they value the lighter skin and the colored eyes rather than the darker skin.
Heilstrahl aktiviert.
Right. I wanted to be kind of careful about it. So really what happens is every time I let this variation of this within activating the barrier.
Let's get to that outfit.
Beautiful, colored eyes, and some of them keep falling over the slave.
Oh, they got me from the back. Sorry. Well, got me from the back.
Diffondere moderne medicina.
It's great. Like, it's like in literally every culture there is a woman in white. The next one that I have is one from, there's two variations from Malta. Basically the first one is this lady appears in Vidala Palace in Bestia, Malta. A woman was supposed to be married with a man that she just met. And he, very humble and trusted to her father.
You needed a doctor? Damage increase.
Hey guys, he's over here, dude. Like, why are you guys over here? There you go. Like, what the fuck? Yeah, there you go, man. Get back. Oh, fuck, we died. Oh yeah, try to depend on the they all went somewhere. Oh, wake up, yo.
She was supposed to marry another man. She had an arranged marriage with this guy,
but was in love with this other guy, and this other guy killed her because she had to marry the girl she had been with. So what a way to go! Like somebody, you know what I mean? Like basically, you were like, if I can't have
Right here. I'm sorry. No, you're good. I'm like, wait till everybody. Oh, thank you. I'm like, I'm the support guy. Gonna give you some like energy, plasma. Are you good? Everybody's good. It's a game, though. I'm trying to be harder.
So she just collects people to follow her around.
What? That's scary.
Somebody took her on board, she was taking other people's the regionals that I write, this
I'm going get my plasma. Get my plasma. Good job. Oh, even by myself. Oh shit.
I'm taking care.
Oh, I was gonna revive him. Fuck. No, Snuggy. I'm losing Snuggy. I died. Yo.
10 seconds.
Wake up, man.
Snuggy.
Hold on a little longer.
Snuggy. Snuggy. Snuggy's overtime Snuggy. Oh boy, I just don't fly fast. Victory. Victory. Good job, Snuggy. What?
Play of the game.
What time is it? It's 1:23. Energy. I felt like shit yesterday. I think because I slept good. See the difference between well. Victory. Good teammate. Yeah, I am. Thank you. Bye. Hey yo, stupid bitch. I love you. I'm out. I don't know, this guy's crazy. Hey, Snuggy, 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 booty. Show your booty, booty. How your paws, Snuggy?
Okay.
Are they feeling better?
We're going to Malta. So, in fashion with what I'm doing, I also found a story of a lady in Wyatt. They're called the Maidens of the Lake. And the story originates from the Buriat people in the village of the Lake.
My dog don't like
The
it.
legend tells that
But like his feet are so dry, dude. And like he likes to go for long walks. I feel bad for him. Here you go, buddy. I don't care if you don't like it.
The story, I feel
Make
like
sure
the
you're all
story was
good.
actually typed out by somebody that's
There you
Russian
go.
and didn't have very good didn't have a very good
Now you're complaining now.
So I took some constructive liberties in trying to translate the story. She was treated so badly by the husband that in one relation team that he locked her in the grave. And I guess traditionally, it's like
They're like psycho.
people stay in the
Doggy shit. How about when you
Select
it made a point, the story did, to say that traditionally it's supposed to be right or it's supposed to be black. I don't know what the difference or the significance of that is, but she was locked in that group for a period of time until finally the husband decided to let her out and said, hey, we have a right to go.
Never stop fighting for what you believe in. Reinhard, I must say, you do quite well. This life must agree with you.
It tastes fun. It's more kind of like aloe but
You're very kind, but I'm comfortable with who I am now. It's a good reminder.
So it said that now I
after she passed away, she became a Grand Steward, which I think is a part of like what's called steward leading. And the steward leading and what the steward leading is they were
Attack commences. Capture objective
getting
A.
moving away from the enemy and spending the enemy and going into the evil to be part of their lives. It's crazy how like all of these
Fog. Thank you. Thank you, Lord. Thank you. Thank you.
Watching your back.
Good job. Good job. Push in. Push in.
Who's going to be okay? You're powered up. Get in there. This will All soldiers are hard to kill.
So I think there's a lot of blame for that. But yes, all of these basically have the same feeling. Women that are strong.
They're so traumatized and so scared that sometimes
Cease your resistance. Get back in
Get that truck kill guy.
Enemies are going to be okay.
Shut up, guys. Go, go, go.
You're powered up. Get in there. Move it out.
There was a cemetery called basically it's a beach cemetery in Illinois, and I think that's what I remember going to
EMP activated.
You're covered.
I'm taking care. Activating self-destruct. Help me.
We're gonna win on this one.
Nerf this.
Hand you come and mark. How you
right there. They said, is there anything? Victory! Yeah. Not really on France, but I think the urban legend.
Thank you.
Excellence is its own reward.
And one thing that you mentioned that I never even thought about was all of these are very basically stories of women that had the power when the story started. So maybe it was a form of trying to regain their control.
Probably like play another hour and then I'm gonna watch this guy. Yeah, you're so heavy. You're so heavy. Oh. Snuggie. Snuggie! Come over here. Come over here, Snuggie.
Yeah, I think we forgot to.
Yeah, there you go. Go over here. Yeah, go here. Right there. Lay down. Snuggie. Say hi, Snuggie. Whoa. Oh. Snuggie's not a dog. He's a human. I tried to. No, he's not. He's They're freaking out.
I kind of wanted to mention one that reminded me of I think it's a little but this one
not enough players. What the fuck? Dude, what?
My dad, when he was younger,
that's fucked up. They took out the experimental thing now.
He was the type of truck driver where like he worked at night, and he said that one of his shipments that he had to take was from Mexico City. He said that.
Hey, I wanted to play more. That's some fucked up shit. Oh, whoever's fucking watching me or lurking, I don't really care. You guys saw that. There was 4 things and it was 5. It was 4. I think they have to be close by to make enough of a team. Hell, I have to find an algorithm. That's some crazy shit. Okay. That was fucking weird. Okay, I'm just gonna play bro. Okay, I'm just.
And as he's getting closer,
man, I wanna play that more. Just because it's experimental, I wanna know what the fuck.
And it looks like she ran to the other side of the street. And when he swerved to the other
side, now it's gonna bother me.
Ran on the other side. So he ended up like stopping and just like trying to catch his breath. And he just looked around and didn't see anything. And he was like, okay.
I know, okay.
So kept driving, and I guess eventually he did stop like at a gas station. And he was still like shook up about it, so he noticed a big hit. And I asked him like, oh, so you saw her? And my dad said, like, what do you mean? He's probably just trying to play it off, saying like, what do you mean? And he's like, as long as you don't see her face, you're gonna be fine. And my dad was like, okay.
Vanguard, maybe.
So he didn't think anything of it. So he finally got technical after a few hours, and I think at the time it was sunlight. So he dropped off the shipment and he had to make his way back to Mexico City. So when he was around the same area that he saw the apparition of the woman, he like kind of stopped and he noticed that right around where he saw her, there was the road angled. So if you like swerve out of the way or anything, you will fall off the cliff. And he said that there was like just a pile, like a big car pile at the end of the cliff. All the people that had seen her face got scared and just fell off the cliff.
Now,
That was the and the thing is, growing up, there was always but recently, I'm just going through like.
Again, 25 minutes, I gotta put my burns in. Because right now it's gonna be the hottest part of the day.
So that has been.
A little meat right now, like my mom and the dad are
I
feeding.
know that that's true, but they don't put it on because on the
But then it gets too hot for them, and I'm like, nah.